Hello again, and welcome to ManchTalk. I'm your host, Tammy Simmons, and for those of you who are watching, we tape the show on Tuesdays, so today is actually primary day in Manchester, so that's my, hat and hoodie and whatnot because I've been tramping all over Manchester helping out good candidates. I started out my day in Ward 10, which is my ward, but I'm not on the ballot until November, so that seemed kind of silly to confuse people by standing there saying, hey, vote for me, but I'm not on the ballot. But I got out there at 6 to help Ted Gatzis and stayed there for the morning. Was relieved by Mike Biendo and Eddie Edwards, who's running for CD1, which was kind of fun. So there's a picture floating around on Facebook of Eddie Edwards holding my sign in Ward 10. Went over to Ward 9, hung out with Mike Ricker over there. That's an interesting race. It'll be interesting to see who comes out on top in there because there was Mike Ricker with his, signs and the Gatz's people and Barbara Shaw and her husband holding Barbara Shaw signs and then all the Joyce Craig people holding James Burkish signs. So apparently so much for the Dems being supportive of fellow Dems because Barbara Shaw's a Democrat and it looked like they kind of had thrown her under the bus, which is unfortunate. Then I ventured over to Ward 4 to help Steve Matthew for a while, and Ted Gatzis obviously there too. Ran into Ted Gatzis and Mayor Wazorek there. That was kind of nice. And then I went home, grabbed a bite for lunch, and then here I am taping a TV show. I wanted to go over a couple things that are going on in the city in the upcoming days, and then I have a special guest who's joining me here on primary day. First, I wanted to remind folks that the farmers market over there in Victory Park on Concord Street is still open on Thursdays at 3 o'clock. I think it runs till like mid-October, so you still have a few weeks left to get some fresh vegetables there. Couple events this week. There is an event called Welcome Manchester at the Courier Museum of Art. It is on Thursday, 9/21 from 3 to 5. There's free admission to the art gallery, so that's a deal. And it's part of something called Welcoming Week when we're trying to unite immigrants and refugees with the natives of our city. There's free admission. You can get more information about that at courier.org. This Saturday, Manchester City Library at 405 Pine Street will have a $10 a bag book sale. They have books and CDs and DVDs. They supposedly have like 10,000 of these, and you can go and for a regular size grocery bag, whatever you can fit in it is $10, and all that. Those funds benefit the library and projects that they have going on there. Then this Sunday, a real fun event that I've been to in the past, up at Livingston Park, this Sunday, September 24th, from 10 to 1, is the 7th annual Mutt Strut and Vendor Fair. It's an animal lover orientated event. They do a walk around the park with your dog, which you can register for. I think it's like $25 to participate in that. And then there's various pet vendors there and whatnot. And tons of fun. I love going up and seeing people with their dogs. And all the proceeds from that go to the Friends of the Manchester Animal Shelter, which is a big asset to our city. And you can get more information on that event at manchesteranimalshelter.org. And lastly, I want to remind people that this is NASCAR weekend. So if for some reason you are traveling north on 93 or coming back south, at some point, you might want to just double check what time races are and whatnot because traffic on 93 does tend to get a little crazy. So that's all I got for events. Joining me today is my good friend Lisa Gravel. For those of you who might recognize her name, Lisa has run for Alderman Ward 7 in the past, and she also was the person who filed the second complaint with the city of Manchester regarding Alderman Gamache and Alderman Ludwig violating the city charter when they voted to give their kids raises. So joining me is Lisa, and she's going to tell us about a new political action.
Venture.
Yeah,
Yes,
new thing.
I have a new venture going on.
Because you got nothing else going on, right?
No, I know. There's never enough time. So I really am concerned about the city races this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, super duper concerned. I think this is going to be a very big year for our city, like as far as if we don't vote the right people in, we're going to be
we're at that pivot point. It's going to go really far to the left.
Exactly.
I guess this is left.
So what I did was I started a PAC. It's called For a Better Manchester PAC, and we are raising money and we are going to be helping out candidates that we believe have better values or whatnot that we want for the city. Like, they're going to respect the charter.
Yep.
They're going to respect the tax cap. We want people that are going to look into Yaga Decker and getting that fixed because that's crushing the city also.
It's
So yeah, it's kind of exciting. It's getting off the ground. We didn't get started as early enough in the primaries to get super duper involved. We did support some candidates financially through the primary, but we're hoping for the general to do a little bit more financially.
I think it's awesome. I often have people inquire, and now maybe I can just steer them your way. A lot of times, different groups from around the state will ask if Manchester has a taxpayer group, and this, even though that's not necessarily a taxpayer group, it's similar because it impacts the taxes. So that's good because sometimes things. Not every issue is partisan. Not every issue is a Republican thing or a Democrat thing. I mean, taxes are taxes. It's not really a Republican issue.
Right. No, that's
true. Everybody's taxes go up when the tax rate goes up. I did find it interesting. I'm going to go off on a tangent here. I was reading, I don't know if everybody watched, but in the newspaper in the past week, they had questions. The union leader asked all the aldermen and school board candidates 3 questions. The first one was about sanctuary cities, which I thought was different because generally people don't bring up sanctuary cities when when I'm going door to door or anything, but they brought it up.
One of the people that Joyce Craig bought in to campaign for her was a big advocate of that. So
right, so I think it was part of the trigger, right?
Yeah.
And I guess in Dave Booten's race, it was a big deal.
Oh, wow.
But because Kevin Kavanaugh ran against Booten. So yes, so there was this something about sanctuary, whatever. Then they asked if we would override the tax cap for salary increases for teachers and city work employees. And then the third question was, what's the most important issue facing Manchester? Now, I'm running in Ward 10, so I'm running against Bill Berry, and I'm totally losing my train of thought. He had said something about taxes. Like they skirt the issue. They say, no, I'm not going to vote the tax cap, but we need to make sure we pay our teachers and our firefighters. We need to do all these things. And, well, the math doesn't allow you to do all the things that you want to do and stay within the cap. So it's interesting. If you had a chance to read them, they're all online in the Union Leader. They did 3 wards a day, so it was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the mayor's. So it's interesting because I think I'm going to put together a chart because it is kind of well because it's hard to remember. Because I know there were a lot of people who said, yeah, Manchester should be a sanctuary city, and there are people who said they were okay with overriding the cap. And I think it's important that voters, regardless of which side of the position you're on, you should still be able to find out somehow at a glance because that's how voters.
Well, and I think it's interesting too because some of the people who are running that have been on the board already. They said, they weren't interested in voting to override the tax cap, but they've done it before. So what changed now?
Right. Well, because
I'm not going to do it again.
Campaign season, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's you can't really take that at face value.
Right. I know, like when you mentioned Yagedecker and the tax cap, and I know when Joyce Craig was alderman a couple years back, before she challenged Ted Gats's the last time, so 4 years ago or 3 years ago, when they were overriding the tax cap. She was all grandstandy and said, this has to be a one-time thing. We can't do this every year. That's not what the tax cap's about. We have to fix Yagedecker and workers' compensation and health insurance and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, that sounded good. You overrode the cap. You said, no, can only be one time. Yet they override the cap every year.
They do. It is. And in talking to people are angry about that. Well, and I hope that these people come out and vote because if the same...
You're going to pull your mic in closer.
Sorry.
Apparently we're not loud enough.
No, I'm so quiet and demure.
I know. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. But if they don't change the people on the board, I don't know why they would expect anything would change. Even though they're saying that because it's an election year.
Yep. Well,
when it comes time
know
for
what
that
it was
vote,
that
they're going to do
Bill
it.
Berry said.
Override it again.
I found it was interesting, and it's funny how people can word things, and if you're not paying attention, it sounds good. He said, he doesn't want to see anybody's taxes go up, and even this year, our tax rate will probably. He either said it would stay the same or go down, which if you don't think about it, you think, wow, my taxes are going to go down. What he's not saying is everybody's properties values went up. So you can't just go by the tax rate. You have to look at what you pay in taxes. In my house, over on Parker Street, the house that I don't live in now and pay taxes on, in 20 years, my taxes went up 74%. Okay, that's a lot. I think
you
that's
must
a
be
lot.
getting so much more
I
services
am. They
for
pick
that.
up the trash 3 times a day now.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, they don't,
that much
I
trash,
don't
Tammy?
know what. Yeah.
What are you doing over there?
I just don't know what the average person get. I mean, I understand that the schools take a lot of our money, but then I hear about so many things in the school district, and for 2,500 students less in the
Right.
past 20 years.
Yep.
We got to start thinking outside the box. We have to start looking at things differently. I know I had John DePietro on, and they talk about like third year German classes in the high school, which for already I'm thinking, how many kids are taking third year German? And they're like 4. There'll be like 2 in this school and 2 over there. Well, then we either have to cut the class or find some way using technology, which is not that new, to say, well, the teacher could be at West and the students could be sitting in a classroom at Memorial or in the library with headphones taking their advanced German class. You don't need to have it in 3 different places if there's not enough kids to take the course. There
should be better ways to
or send them to the
make
community
the money,
college.
get the most out of your money.
There's got to be better ways. So what else? The charter, that's a big thing. I've had conversations with people, and I know there's a lot of interest in strengthening the language in the charter. So I think
as far as my PAC, I think what we're gonna do after the elections are done, and hopefully we got a good board, but we want to put some money into educating the residents of the city about this. We want to get something on the ballot. Where we're going to get teeth. Chuck Douglas had sent me a letter, and he showed you saw the letter. I got it from you, as a matter of fact. It didn't go to me, it went to you. But he had shown the Dover Charter, and they can actually remove people for violating.
There's actually a little
so there's
bit of
like
teeth.
There's like a penalty if you violate the charter.
Right.
So I think that would be a great direction to go
I
to,
agree.
because God forbid the election doesn't go our way, and we get all. I mean, I personally feel like the firemen are trying to load the deck.
It does. It almost seems like we have a fire. We have the Republicans, the Democrats, and the firefighters.
Right.
Because they're going. Like I said with Barbara Shaw today. So I mean, she's a Democrat.
They're throwing her under the
They're
bus.
throwing her under the bus because they didn't vote for
contract.
their contract. So now all the firefighters. I mean, you got Gamache is a former firefighter. Burkish is the former fire. I think the district chief or the vice chief.
And doesn't he have kids or somebody that's
his
still...
name's Burkish. There's
Yeah.
So,
but if we added some teeth to charter where there's a penalty, we would take that ability away from him.
Right.
He wouldn't be able to vote.
Right.
So, okay, you
then
get
I
elected,
don't mind so much.
But, right, exactly. So I think that's something we need to think about, too, strategically, to try to protect the taxpayers. Because I'm a taxpayer, and I'm sick of my taxes going up.
Well, and that's the thing. I try not to be a one-issue person. Like, a lot of times people are... I'm torn. I have, like, this... Jekyll and Hyde, a Jekyll and Hyde.
Right.
I feel like that sometimes when I'm talking to people, because part of me really just does care about the spending and the taxes. That sounds awful, but there is a part of me that just does. That's it. I was involved in the tax cap. I think it's important. I don't have endless money to just constantly pay for more and more for I don't know what. And then there's the other half of me that when I run for office, I just want to make Manchester's community better. And I'm not sure how, but it's funny because you're saying we'd like to educate people more about what,
Right.
because I think people need to know. I think part of the problem and part of the reason why things happen in Manchester is that the average person living in Manchester has no idea what's going on.
Right.
Because the only time they hear about it is if it's in the Union Leader, and then it's after it's already happened.
Well, I don't even read the Union Leader. I
browse just to see if there's any big story,
Yeah, I think I get most of my stuff off of Facebook. And I think that, back when you did that tax cap, there wasn't
I know.
a Facebook.
So
I
collecting
think we
signatures
could
now, I mean, after just watching
because people, they hear about it, like with my complaint. I was driving all over the city because people were contacting me on Facebook. They had heard about it from their friend. Hey, this girl's doing this, get in touch with her. And, so I think we're going to have that as a tool that's going to actually help us educate people.
Right, because even if, I mean, for the tax cap, we had to have just over 4,000 valid, signatures. And even if that's gone up 10%, which I doubt it has, but let's say that number even goes up and you have to get 4,400, even if you had to get 5,000, I just think, I look at Facebook and I'm like, well, how many friends do you have on Facebook? And if 10% of your friends, of course, they're probably the same friends I have, but I do think it would be easier and you'd just be able to reach out faster.
Right.
Because in Twitter.
Yeah.
And whatever other social media things.
Speaking of social media, I should throw out there my PAC,
Yes.
We are on the social media. We have a Facebook page.
Awesome.
It's called For a Better Manchester PAC.
Yeah.
We have a website. It's forabettermanchester.org or .com.
Nice.
And on both sites, we have a donate button.
Donate.
How awesome is
Right,
that?
so if
like,
you
if you want to
think-
give us
yeah.
money, we would love
Right.
that.
And if
we
you
are going
want,
to do good things with your
right.
money.
And if you want
Much more than the city will.
Especially if there's something that, if they're not sure what candidates, or maybe they live someplace and they're not really sure, like they might live in a ward that has a great alderman. Right now that wouldn't probably be too many places, but let's assume that they presume somebody's going to win, or they've already contributed and they want to help make sure that somebody else gets elected, but they're not sure which
Because
one.
it does. It affects the whole city.
Right.
Even though it's not your direct representative.
Right.
If you think yours is good, well, hey, you know what? Ward 4, for example, could definitely use a new alderman.
Yes.
And if you wanted to, support Steve Matthew, we're supporting Steve Matthew. In fact, we already gave him money in the primary.
Yep.
So we feel that we're going to definitely help out people that are going to help out the city
That's awesome.
and make it a better Manchester.
Better Manchester. And I was
Exactly.
thinking when I was walking in, so for better is fab. So it could be like, you could have a whole theme of fab.
I'll have to talk to my tech guy about that. We'll see.
So I don't know how much time we have left because I'm not paying attention.
I have no idea. It's your show.
Let's talk more about Manchester.
Okay.
Let's do this. We have 12 minutes left.
Wow, that's a while.
So today's primary day.
It is.
I already voted. Did you
Me
already
too.
vote?
I did. I went to.
So I am kind of curious. I didn't bring the printouts, so I'm going to have to go by memory. So going through this, obviously Ted Gatsas and Joyce Craig will move on in the primary for mayor. There's a primary in Ward 1 for alderman. I know Chris Stewart, Jeff Nyan, and Kevin Kavanaugh. So I think Chris Stewart and Kavanaugh will probably move on.
Okay. I actually
really-
don't know much about that race.
Right.
That's
I don't
not
really
one
know
I've,
much, but I think I've seen signs for Chris Stewart, and I think he was on the school board for a while, so I think he's got
Right.
some, even though it was in a different ward. Ward 2 has a huge alderman primary. I mean, I think
have to
there's like
refresh
5
names
here.
to me.
Paul Martineau, the welfare guy. The former welfare commissioner.
Welfare, yep.
Robert O'Sullivan, who used to own PJ O'Sullivan's. He's running. Will Stewart, who's the bicycle guy, and I don't know, he's involved in some. He used to be Greater Dairy Chamber of Commerce, and
Okay.
he was part of the people who help people build houses, not Habitat for Humanity, but we have
Not
another
them.
one.
Okay.
Anyways, he's a community kind of guy, and then I don't even remember who. So that's a 5-way. I have no idea what's going to happen there.
Right. Again,
Ludwig didn't run. Yay.
well,
So
that's
a
a good
plus.
thing. Although it would have been good to run someone
Yeah.
against him,
Yeah.
because I think he's pretty damaged
Ward
himself.
4 has Jason Hodgson, Steve Matthew, and Chris Herbert. So I presume
Right.
Chris
I
Herbert and
was
Steve
at
will get through.
that earlier.
Yeah, I was there earlier
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Then there's no primaries in Ward 5. Ward 6, that's going to be an interesting one. So now in Ward 6, you've got Elizabeth Moreau, who I think
Yes.
is the best.
Yeah,
of
I'm
the
going to go
picks.
visit her a little later.
I am too.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, maybe we'll see each other there.
So, it's her, a Democrat. I don't even remember the guy's name, and Ryan Van Orden. So, what's interesting in Ward 6 is they have the regular ballot that has the primary. So they got Gatsas, and they also have a school committee primary there where John DePietro is running against Dan Bergeron and Ernesto Pindar. So I think John DePietro and Bergeron will move forward. But on the aldermanic race, since there's 3 names, then there's a special ballot because they're also filling the seat from that Nick Pappas was in from now until November.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if the vote totals stay in line, because I'm going to guess that they're not going to, because I'm thinking voters will go in, and if they're supporting Elizabeth, if they didn't know, they're going to be like, well, I'll vote for her for alderman. Oh, and then I'll vote for this guy over here because I already voted for Elizabeth.
I don't know
once."
if people do that. I think I would stay consistent.
I think I would, but I've had people tell me that in past races where I've run for state rep and I've run for delegate.
But if it's on 2 different pieces of paper, that's
I
a
would
different
hope
story.
that people would get that, but It'll be interesting. I'm
Hopefully
very
they
curious to
educated the
see
people in Ward 6
if,
and say,
and on
I mean,
top,
the people handing out the ballots
I
are
was gonna
probably
say,
telling them.
and on top of everything else, Ward 6 is voting in a different polling location, so
I
I guess
heard
they're
about
all in a
that.
tizzy, and there's 2 entrances. It's just a weird mess
Yeah, it
over
sounds kind of crazy.
there. There's a primary in
Ward 7, my ward.
Ward 7 with Bill Shea and Brenda, and can never say her name,
Brian
Nuzzo
Cole.
or something,
Yep.
and Brian Cole. I'll presume that Shea and Brenda will get through.
I would think so. She's definitely got the
she's out-
unions
yeah.
behind her. Big
Probably
time.
firefighters.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe she's part of the firefighter party.
I think there's something going on there, yeah.
So that's 7. Ward 8 is a big one too. You've got.
I spent a lot of time in Ward 8
I'm going
this
there
morning.
this afternoon. John Cataldo's been working really hard over
Yeah,
there. He's the
a really
only
good
Republican
candidate.
in that race.
Anyone in Ward 8, I hope you supported John Cataldo.
And then you've got Ed Sapienza and Betsy DeVries, both of which are Democrats. I couldn't bet my. I can't. I want to say I think Cataldo gets through. I just don't know which of the other 2. I'm going to guess Cataldo and DeVries.
Yeah, best case would be if it was Eddie and John. If they
Right,
both got
right,
through. That would be
because then
best
we
case
have
for the city
right.
taxpayers.
But
Because he's a financially fiscal conservative.
But I'm just having a hard time. Like when you look at who's going to win elections, you look at the pool of voters. So if the Democrat voters
it's a
split,
very Republican ward.
right?
It really
so
is.
maybe Sapienza pulls some Republican votes from Cataldo, but then Betsy also pulls the Democrat votes from Sapienza.
Right.
I guess we'll know in about 6 hours. So that's Ward 8. They don't have a school committee primary. Ward 9 has an aldermanic primary too, and that's the one I said I felt bad. You've got Mike Ricker running, a Republican. You've got Barbara Shaw running, a very moderate Democrat. And then the firefighter party teaming up with Joyce Craig to get rid of, I guess, Barbara.
Yeah, I think.
I guess that's their goal.
That's.
So that's weird. No primaries in Ward 10 other than for Mayor Gatzis. Ward 11 has a aldermanic primary. That one's a 4-way too. You've got Russ Ouellette, who, I get that he's got his life on track and he stopped drinking and everything, but I still can't get past the fact that you did lock a girl in your truck and didn't let her. And then a few days later, you were like stalking her. Like you weren't still drunk, I don't think. I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way. Then
I used to work with Russ, so I don't
know.
wanna say
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see he got his life on track.
I'm very glad
too.
that he's got his life on track.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that's the. I don't know. I'm weird that way sometimes.
Yeah.
Norm Kabash, he'll just violate the city charter. We got to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Armin Forrest, who's a nice enough guy, but Armin's older. I mean, I'm always amazed that Armin keeps rerunning for state rep. And I think being an alderman's more tedious than being a state rep, and I don't know. And then Andre Rosa, who I like. I like Andre. I think
Andre would be the best vote out of all of those.
I think he, we do need younger people on the board, and we need people who have a different viewpoint, different perspective. He's a good guy. I think he'd make a good alderman.
Yeah.
So
it'll be interesting to see what comes out of the primary.
And then Ward 12, there's a aldermanic primary there as well. The Democrats put up a college kid and are running him hard against Keith Hirschman and then Joel Elber, who's a state rep. So I would presume.
The speculation on that is that they're trying to primary Keith out.
Right.
And then they're going to have these two.
These two.
And from what it sounds like, this, what's his
I can't think
name?
of his name.
Okay.
Essa.
He's 19 years old.
Hassan Essa, I think it is.
I mean, I don't want to speak ill or whatever, but I mean, what world experience do you have at 19 years old?
A 19-year-old college student.
He lives in public housing, and I'm not judging that, but how can you be voting on financial issues of the city when you have no world experience as far as paying a mortgage I mean, it's just, maybe in a few years, but at 19 years old.
Having served at the State House with some younger reps, some of them are okay voters. Other ones, sometimes I think you need to live a little longer because they really don't understand the impacts of some of the things. When you're voting on funding for things and you don't pay for it out of your own pocket yet.
I basically think he's going to be a puppet for the Democrats of Manchester. They'll just kind of tell him how to vote.
Are they thinking that they get rid of Hirschman and then they run the kid against Joel Elber? I mean, what do they decide?
I think they want the kid in. That's my personal opinion.
So that'll be interesting. I'm sure there'll be election result. I mean, we get the results pretty fast in Manchester, anyways.
Oh yeah,
It's not
I
like
mean it's very small too in the primary.
I'm going to try to post them on ManchTalk. I always say that I'm going to post things on ManchTalk, and then I don't always do it because by the time I get going, I'm like, ah. But I will try to do it tonight. I will post on my personal Facebook page if you happen to be on Facebook friends, or on the I can get them on the Manchester Republican Committee. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see going forward. I did have oddly enough, I had a conversation. We were talking in Ward 10 this morning about how odd it is that all the candidates aren't on the ballot. Even if there's only 2 candidates running for 1 seat, I think the voters get confused when they go in and their ballot doesn't have anybody.
Really?
So, and then I got to thinking about it. So what if somebody wanted to do a write-in campaign for all? There's not even any place on the ballot to write somebody in.
I mean, I guess in the general there's
right,
a
but
place
it just
for that,
seems,
but yeah.
being that we have nonpartisan elections, the thing we call a primary really isn't a primary. It's really a runoff, because we take the top vote getters. So then we got talking about it in Ward 4 with Steve and Chris Herbert, and we got saying, would it be the end of the world if we didn't have a primary? And just I mean, right?
Just have
It's
one
not,
general election.
and just have November election.
Yeah.
I mean, we really, because it costs money to have an election.
Right.
And I don't know what we get out of the primary. It's weird. It is a strange thing.
Well, it gets
it's
people
not
out
like
knocking on doors earlier and
it does,
meeting people and stuff
but
like that.
it doesn't give, it's not like you're picking a party, the Republican nominee and the Democrat nominee and the Libertarian nominee. You're just picking random people.
Right.
So it's an interesting thing. So that would have to get changed in the charter too. And I'd love to see us change the charter about health insurance benefits.
Oh, God.
I bet people would like that.
I confronted my school board member about that when I was at the polls earlier and did not appreciate his flip-flopping because he used to vote against it.
Well,
And
it's a
now
lot of
he's-
money. I saw a list yesterday, and I'll probably, in the upcoming weeks, I'm sure I'll talk about it. And I just wanted to digest it a little more because even as a right to know request, it seemed really odd the way it was laid out.
They used
But
to give me a hard time. I was on that a
it
while
costs
back.
like
They're
the
very-
taxpayers
yeah.
$10,000 to $20,000 for everybody that signs up, for every one of the aldermen or school committee members that sign up for health insurance. That's a lot of money. And there's like 6 school committee members. I think it was 4 or 6 that take the family plan. Okay, so that's almost $100,000 that could be spent in the schools.
Right.
So, anyways.
Yeah, you're
So,
preaching to the choir on that one. My
she's
conversation with him was, you are not city employees.
Right.
You're not.
No,
You are
you're not
serving
part-time
at the
employees.
pleasure
You
of
are
the
a
voters.
public servant.
Exactly.
And you get a stipend.
So
you're not an
you're
employee.
taking away resources that are supposed to be going towards
And I'm
city.
okay with offering anybody the school plan, but you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Or the city plan, but you have to pay for it.
That's fine.
You shouldn't expect taxpayers to be paying for your health
I agree.
insurance.
And I think there's some people that are on that board
Just to
that's
have
the
the
only
insurance,
reason
yeah.
they do it.
That and the firefighters, because firefighter property.
Fast day.
So anyway, and
We all
fast day.
should
We
get
all need
fast
fast
day.
day. So anyways, I'm getting the flash that we're almost out of time. So I want you to tell everybody again the name of your
is that the
organization,
camera?
how they can find it. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
talk right into that camera.
All right, so I'm Lisa Gravel. I'm in the For a Better Manchester PAC, and you can find us on Facebook at For a Better Manchester PAC. You can find us online. We have a website, For a Better Manchester, no PAC, .com and .org. And we are on Twitter. And again, I believe it's For a Better Manchester. And we've been sending out tweets all day with our recommendations of who you should be voting for today. And if you want to donate, go to our website or our Facebook page, and we do have a handy dandy little donate button. And we would certainly appreciate that because we certainly could use a little bit of money to, we'll probably throw Tammy a couple bucks, something like that.
So that's all we have for today. If you have to reach me for any reason, you can email me at manchtalk@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Facebook or on Twitter at ManchTalk. That's all I got. She's saying wrap it up. I hope you all got out there and vote, and I'm looking forward to talking to next week and seeing who's going to be on the ballot in November. And in the upcoming weeks, I'm planning on having lots of candidates in here telling us why you should be voting for them. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye.